Hey guys, in this episode we will explore using Mesh for modeling landscapes in Maya 2016 extension 2. So a new feature they introduced in 2016 extension 2 is this plugin called Mesh, which was before available as a standalone plugin. But basically you can make any object, click create mesh, and create a mesh network, and lets you do a whole bunch of stuff. If we open up the attributes, you can see there's a whole bunch of nodes we can add. A lot of the tutorials talk about using it for like graphic design, but I want to explore using it in modeling, maybe in like landscapes or laying out geometry, the way you would use XGen, but using Mesh makes it a lot easier. So let's start by creating a plane, and I'm gonna make just a quick and dirty landscape for us to start. So I'm going to just make a plane here, go to sculpting, I'm going to use the wax brush, which is this guy here, and B is to scale the brush, and M is for strength. That looks good enough. And also, let's have a little fun with this. Let's make a tree. I want to make the bottom of the tree touch the... I want it to be sitting on top of the geo, on top of the ground. So I'm going to lift it above the ground. I'm going to then select just the vertices here, then this geo, and then let's go into the form and open up shrink wrap. I'm going to set this parallel to axis, and we'll set this to Y and hit apply. And then if I move these vertices down, you can see they'll just snap to the geo below. Okay, that's good. And this face we have down here we don't need. Alright, so now I'm going to make some roots. And you know, I think the geo is a little too dense, so I should have made it less dense, but no biggie. We'll just delete every other edge and then add some loops. I want to do this by hand because I don't want them to be even. I want it to be like spaced out weird. So that's going to let us do that. Okay. Okay, so selected all these faces here, and you can do that by selecting a face and then selecting an adjacent face next to it. So while holding shift left, double clicking the face next to it. What I need to do is poke each face because I want to find the face centers. So it's this button here, or actually you can also get it by just holding shift and right clicking, and it's poke face right there. So this will just give me face centers so that I can do this. I'm going to use a curve tool to create some curves, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this geo here. I'm going to make it live. This way I can then hold V and snap to, let's say, this vertex, so that's my starting place, and then when I click you can see that any curve that I make or any object I make will stick to the surface. And what I'm doing now is just drawing curves for the roots. Okay, you can turn live off. Just gonna isolate this for a second so I can delete these extra edges that we don't need. They were just temporary. Let's turn off isolate. So now we have, if we look at this, we have that, right? So we have curves coming out for the roots. So now I'm going to select each face, then shift select the curve, and just click extrude like that. I'm going to go to the next face. So here's the thing. Once you do this, you go into component mode. So you have to manually go to object mode, select the face, right click face, select the face again, then shift select the curve, and then you can repeat. So object mode, face, shift select the curve, and extrude. So now if we scroll down, you can see we have 7 extrusions here for all of the roots. I'm going to select the first one, set my divisions to a couple, and then set the taper like that. And if you want, you can also add a twist, and then just go down the line. There, so let's bring back the ground. You can see there's our tree with roots kind of coming around. And then what we can do is, because we still have history on all of this, I'm going to select all the curves here, and you can press F8 or F9, and if you don't see the vertex selection, just press this button on and off. And then I can select each one of these tips here and bury the root. Okay. Okay, so I can clear history. And that's good. And what we can also do is add a little extra detail by subdividing this one more time, and going back to sculpting using the wax brush again. Okay, it looks pretty good. Alright, now we're gonna have some fun. So I'm gonna take the tree here, subdivide that, pretty low res, and then we need to do UVs on this. And the reason we need to do UVs is because we're gonna paint a map for where we're gonna have grass and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna cut this off. So there's my little scissor. Like that. Place that there. And then I'm gonna select an edge loop. That, deselect in here, and then deselect in there, and also deselect that. So we're going to cut that much of it. So let's cut. And then you can select everything and go into Unfold 3D, settings, that's all fine. Click Apply. Okay, it does not do a great job sometimes, so we'll just have to manually adjust it. That's this, and then we'll scale it together. I'm going to keep them in a single UV tile for this lesson. There. Okay, Control F. And we don't need these guide curves either. Okay, so this is ground, tree, okay, done. Now, let's change the background like that. Now let's make some grass petals. So I'm going to turn on, I guess, grass blades. I'm going to turn on the grid so I can see what's going on. I'm going to make a plane that is 1 division this way and 3 divisions that way. And then from here, I'm just going to scale this and make just a grass blade. Stand it up. Okay, so I'm gonna unhide the ground because I want to see if this is a good size blade. So something like that. Let's see, it's probably 2. That looks pretty good. Alright, so let's put it back at 0. So back to origin. Hide this again. So I'm gonna just put it right there. And then I'm gonna clear history. I'm gonna duplicate. Let's do 4 of them. And then I'm gonna modify them. So basically just kind of make them so they're not all the same. And put them all at origin like this, and then freeze them. Reset transformations, and this will be grass blade 1. And just let's group them, and grass blades there. Okay, let's bring this back, unhide the grid, and let's make a mesh network. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these grass blades. I'm going to go into create mesh network. When I open this up, there are a couple options. One is mesh, one is instancer. So because I'm going to have a lot of grass, I'm going to set it to instancer. You can always change it back to mesh later on, but as an instancer, it'll be a little faster. So if your computer's a little slow, this will be a little faster. So click apply. And what you will notice is that we have, I'm just going to hide this to show you, we just have 4 grass blades, right? And they're actually all the same. I'm also going to turn on two-sided lighting. They're all the same blade. And we have a new mesh node here, and then we also have a mesh instancer. So the instancer is the new geometry it made. And the mesh node is our grass. I'm going to call this mesh grass, like that. And let's bring back the tree and grass, I mean a ground. And so if I select the mesh node and open up the attributes, we get this window. And then in here, I'm going to go into distribute, and then we can look at what's going on. So its number of points is 4. We can add, you can see we're adding a lot more by using this. But we're going to ignore that. What we're going to do is we're going to just scroll down to mesh right here. You can also change it in here, but you can just go down to this mesh setting here, open this up, and then under input mesh, I'm going to take the ground and just drag it in like that. And now what's going to happen is the grass is now distributed on the ground, but you can see what's happening is it's kind of like pointing in different directions and it's inside. So we just need to do a little work on this. So I'm gonna just go down here, and I'm gonna click calculate rotation off because our grass grows up. So I'm gonna turn that off. You can see looks pretty good. And the other thing we'll notice is that it's all the same blade. So if we increase the number, you can see it's all the same blade of grass. So what we need to do now is add something called an ID. So with the mesh grass selected, I'm just gonna left click and hold and click add to ID. And then in here, you can see when it says linear, it's going to just put it's going to randomly, not randomly, it's going to in a row replace the blades, but we're going to set this to random. And now what we should see is random grass blades. And the number here, number 4, this number should match how many different geometries you have. So if we have 4 blades of grass, that means we have 4 ID count. And then you can change the C, and you can see it'll cycle through them. Cool. Alright, so now let's come back into the distribute node, and you can actually change this number really high, so like 1,000. You can see there it is. There's our 1,000 grass blades, but they're everywhere. I don't want to have them everywhere, so I'm going to do something else now. I'm going to hide the mesh node for now, the instancer, I'm sorry, Control H, and let's hide the tree for now. I'm going to right click, assign new material. I'm going to just make a simple Lambert. I'm going to call this ground, actually grass placement, like that. It doesn't matter what you name it. I'm gonna close this. Then I'm gonna right-click, hold spacebar, go to texturing, and open up the 3D Paint tool. And then in here, I'm gonna go down to Assign, Edit Textures, click Assign. Right now, if I try and paint, you can see there's a big X to it. That's because we don't have any texture assigned. So we go in here, click Assign Texture, and then we need to give it a size and image format. So 1000 pixels, that's fine, and because it doesn't really matter, we're only painting placement. And then for image format, we're going to use PNG and click Assign. And now you can see we can paint. So I'm going to go in and flood everything with white. I'm going to select black, and it doesn't matter which brush we use. But now, what I can do is paint the cave part black. And then I'm going to bring back the tree. Let's see, it's going to display and show all. And I'm going to paint where the roots are. And now I'm going to reassign just the regular Lambert. We don't need to see that. And if I open up the Hypershade, go to Textures, you can see there's our paint that we have. So now what we can do is I'm going to select the Mesh node, go in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a visibility node to that. So I'm going to click Visibility, Add Visibility node, and then right here where there's a map helper, we need to bring the ground in, because the ground has UVs, and we're going to set the map projection to UV, so it's using the ground's UVs. And then for the texture, we're going to bring in the texture file that we painted in the strength map. And what this will do is it will not paint, let's hide this, it basically will tell Mesh not to put any grass where it's black. Okay, so that's good. So let's come in here, we're gonna go to Distribute, and let's set this to like 5000. And you can see there's our grass. Probably add even more grass. Okay. So now I want to be able to control the grass a little more, because right now it looks kind of like it's too even. And even if we randomize it, it's still not going to be perfect. So what I want to do now is open up the Mesh again, go to the Mesh tab here. I'm going to add an influence object. Like this. And now I'm going to do something different here. I'm going to select the ground here. I'm going to make it live. Because now if I take this influence object locator and move it, it will snap to the ground. Because if it's not snapped to the ground, it will, if it's above or below the surface, it's going to affect the grass. And I don't want it to do that. I want it to be always on the surface. This way, when I'm moving it, it will always stick to the live object. Like that. And you can see if I scale, I can rotate, I can have some grass. Now what I can also do is go to the Mesh node, go to the Mesh Grass Influence, and right here in this window, I can right click and click Create. Come back. Let's go back in there. This is kind of annoying, but it selects the last locator created. So I'm going to click Create, and I'm just going to keep clicking Create to add a bunch of different locators. Like that. So now you can see the grass is getting really tall because the locators are all stacked on top of each other. But as I start to spread them out, see we can have some control over, add some rotation. Now, you can also change the fall off on the influence of the object. So right now, the fall off, when it's set to the power set to 5, it's like in the middle. If you set it to 1, it's basically even, like a linear fall off. And then if you set it to 10, it's more of a exponential fall off. So I'm going to set it somewhere in between 1 and 5, so maybe something like that. And I think I want to add just another one in here. Okay. Alright, so now I'm going to select the mesh distribute node and see if we can make it even denser. And then let's randomize the grass, because right now, even though we have these influence objects, it's still pretty straight up and down. So I'm going to select the mesh node again. And you have to do this after you do the influence. If you do the influence after you set your random, what will happen is it will reset the orientation of the grass petals or the grass blades. So you have to do the influence first, and then you can add a random. I'm going to add a random to rotation. You can see it just randomized it, and if you want to see the effect, you just, this is before and that's after. And then we can adjust the randomization rotations here. Okay, I'm going to then select it again, and this time I want to add random scale. Okay, that's way too big. So let's go to 0 and 1. Look at the effect. So that's before and that's after. So it's, the grass is taller. And if we want, we can just set this to like 0.5 and then this to like -0.5. And then we can look, so before, now so you can see how even this is before and then after the randomization. Okay. Alright guys, so if you want, you can also add some rocks. Oh, that's live. So I'm gonna just make a cube. I'm gonna subdivide it, select the vertices. I'm going to then double click the transform component. You can also get to it by shift right click, transform component, open options, set random to 1, click apply, and then I can drag that out, make it a little random like this. Let's actually make a couple. Going to just combine them temporarily. Combine, clear history, transform component, just make some random. You can press G to do it again and then push it in. It'll randomize it even more. And now we can subdivide it one more time, and then we have some, like, I don't know, random looking rocks. You can also select that and just push it in again, just to make it a little sharper. There. Okay, so there's some rocks. Let's separate them. I'm gonna center pivot and bring back the grid. I'm gonna snap them to grid in the center and freeze them. Freeze transformations. And I'm gonna call this rocks and rock 1. Like that. So those are 4 rocks. And you can create a new mesh network the same way. And this I'm going to call mesh rocks. I want to add an ID node to the rocks, but there's a bug that I've noticed sometimes if you have multiple mesh networks and you select, let's say, this network and then try to add a ID node, it will actually add it to the previous network. So the way to get around it is just to disable the distribute node, then select the new network, add your ID node. So now it added the ID node. Now we have different rocks. Let's randomize that, and then you can come back in here and enable the grass again. It's kind of I mean, it's new, so I'm sure they'll fix this. Let's see, what is this set to? Mesh. There we go. Now the rocks are on the surface, and instead of controlling it with a map, I'm just going to control it with influence objects. It's going to be easier for me for these rocks. So I think that's a good number of rocks. Okay. Now let's add some influence. And now let's randomize it. So I'm going to go back to the rocks, mesh, random rotation. I want to really rotate these rocks, so just go maximize that. Okay. And then let's add another random node for scale. And for this, I'm going to turn on uniform. You want the scale to be uniform, and then I'm going to set this to 0 and this to 1, and then go into actually negative 0.5, maybe 0.5, until I have something that is pretty good. Okay, I think that's good. Turn live off, and we can hide the influence objects. We don't need them, and that's it. Just get rid of the grid. So now you can see what you can do with mesh. You can put grass, rocks, and make a nice little landscape. And what's nice about this is that you can always go back and change it. You can add more rocks. You can move around your influence objects. So it's very customizable. You can come back and repaint the map. So if you needed to change where the grass grows, you can always paint this texture back, and that's really easy to do. All you have to do is just reassign it back to the ground like this. Press 6, and then just paint. So the thing is, sometimes it can be really slow when you can see the instancers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the instancers temporarily. I'm going to go to spacebar, texture, 3D paint tool, and I can then paint another path here, let's say. That. Let's make it a little jaggedy. That, and then all you have to do is just unhide instancers and it will update. And we'll assign Lambert 1 back. That easy. So to change the geometry type from instancer, if you're happy with the way everything looks, then you want to change this to geo. Just select the mesh network you want to use. Go to create, mesh, utilities, and then click switch geometry type. So this will change the instance to geometry now. Let's do the same to the grass. Create, mesh, utilities, and switch mesh geometry type. So now we have geo and geo. Alright guys, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this tutorial, please hit the like button and subscribe. You can also support this channel on Patreon.